tell them now you're going to hell as soon as you die. Why, sir?
Good afternoon from Nikki and from me. Well, first of all, I would like to thank all of you for your wonderful comments about my boys. Yes, they are my prides, they are my joys, they are my heartstrings. And thank you all for your many, many wonderful comments. So if I may, since we have a lot of ground to cover, I will plunge right in with one or two comments from you and then questions. Lisa Carnegie says, Lady C, congrats on your beautiful sons. They really are a credit to you. Thank you. Completely different, but both divine in their own way. You must be so proud of both of them. I am very proud of both of them. And they are very different, and they always were very different. And I'll tell you, one of my guiding philosophies is you're born with your own personality. Character is what is inculcated. And I've never tried to change my children's personalities. I have tried to bring them up for them to be true to their own natural personality, and hopefully to bring out the better parts of it. And of course, nobody's perfect, but they are good, kind, decent, loving boys. And that to me is the main thing, and always was. I've always said, I don't care whether you're a duke or a dustman, but you've got to be a decent human being. A Step Beyond Healing says, wonderful to see you, Lady C, with your sons. Happy belated birthday. Misha, wishing you much success. Miss hearing your voice. Dima, I have watched the Christmas video, and as you say, it is peaceful and beautifully made. Good luck to your endeavours. Cherish this time with your brother and mother, and my sympathies for difficulties seeing your loved ones due to COVID. Here's to better days. Lots of love from Kentucky. I'm very proud of Dima. He organised that video, he oversaw it, he was producer, director, he was absolutely wonderful. And I think it's a testament to his artistic ability. Susan Muir says, Lady C, lovely to see your boys. If Nutmeg wants to be seen as a humanitarian, she should open up her home to a refugee Afghan family. After all, she's got the room. Do you think that's a good idea? Thank you for your videos. You are right. We are a group of like-minded friends. Thank you for that. Thank you. That's how I feel, and I'm glad you feel the same way. Do I think it's a good idea for Meghan to open up her home to a family of Afghan refugees? I actually think that would be a very limited and virtue signalling thing for her to do. I think she and Harry could turn their endeavours to far more meaningful ways of helping in a situation such as this. Of course, they're not going to do what you suggest, and they wouldn't be doing what I suggest. So I'm going to save my breath and let them keep on expounding hot air in the most flatulent manner possible, as they remain speechless amidst a diatribe of verbiage. Partly Cloudy says, it was announced by scabies that the Harkles have donated to a charity for helping Afghan women. The problem I have is now that the Taliban have taken over, how do we know the women are getting the money or help? Who is to verify all the money got to them? Very good point, that. Well, the fact of the matter is that if you look at newspaper articles and magazine articles from the 1950s, you will see that Afghanistan was a very functional society under the king. We have covered this terrain before, so I'm not going to repeat it. Yes, Meghan and Harry did make a donation to Women for Afghan Women via their Archewell Foundation, and it was to support the efforts to evacuate and relocate families. Well, I mean, I really don't know where to start because I try to keep out of politics. But the fact of the matter is that if you really want a very considered, very accurate article that summarizes the whole of the Afghan situation, I would refer you to Matthew Syed's article in this last week's Sunday Times, which I am going to ask that it be posted at the end of this interview. And I would recommend that each and every one of you read it, because I have to tell you, it shows what a complete pig's ear the West has made repeatedly out of their Afghan adventurism. In the 19th century, Afghanistan was called the graveyard of empires when the British went in and had to leave with their tail between their legs. Since then, everybody else who's gone in has had to leave with their tail between their legs. You know, we do not have the right to impose our system of government on people who don't want it. And then after we have intervened and after we have seduced enough people into following our ways, we then abandon them to their fate. It is absolutely wrong. And I'm going to make one point. President Trump is the one who struck the deal with the Taliban that the American troops would pull out on the 31st of August. Biden has honored that pledge rather too willingly in the view of practically everyone. Now, I don't often agree with Tony Blair, our discredited former Prime Minister, but in this respect, I do. You do not give notice in a situation like that to people exactly when you're going to pull out, and then do it. It is naivety of the highest order. Now, I'm going to say something that I hope doesn't offend you, but it might offend a lot of you. Presidents Trump and Biden would have been far better off if they had read a history book or two and actually did not indulge their naivety. You know, saying that a war that has been going on for 20 years is an endless war and that you want to get out is not good geopolitics. Anybody who knows anything about history knows that there are systems of government and systems of statehood throughout civilization that are in conflict with each other, whether it's Rome and Carthage, Rome and Christianity, and I can go on and on, or the Byzantine Empire and the Ottoman Empire, but I think you got the point. A 20-year war, Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump, is not a never-ending war. It's not even that long a war. There have been wars that have been fought for 50, 70 and 100 years. There's such a thing as 100 years war. There was a 30 years war. There are endless wars in our times, and I say our times meaning post the Renaissance, that have lasted at least 30 years, and the 100 Years' War as well lasted 100 years. Admittedly, that was a little bit before the time we're speaking about, but not that much. Had we been as mealy-mouthed as the politicians are being at present, communism would not have collapsed. The West, America, its allies had the will to stop communism, and it took about, 40-something, 1945 to 1989. Nearly 45 years, nearly 50 years. Think about it. And they're complaining about a 20-year war. And worse, don't even pull out properly. Pull out chaotically. Pull out in such a way that all their allies, all the people on the ground who were helping them, with very few exceptions, are going to be penalized for having supported the West. And then you have airheads like Meghan and Harry wading in with their facile, shallow, ignorant, nonsensical posturing, making sure that they have announced that they made a donation. Well, was it $50, Harry? Was it $100, Meghan? It certainly can't have been anything very substantial, otherwise you would have made sure you announced it. But of course, how these things work is Harry and Meghan make a donation. I think it's like £10 to the dog charity per month in Britain that she made, something like that. Super generous. I mean, can you imagine? £10 a month to a dog charity. Wow, my goodness. Mickey, have you ever heard of such generosity in your life? Oh, well, they make the donation. It suits the charity to get publicity, to announce that they have made the donation. And just in case the charity is going to respect their privacy, they get somebody like Emil Scabies, who of course came to the rescue yet again, to inform the world how wonderful and marvellous and generous they are. This is a monumental problem that does not have a quick fix. And anybody who is facile about it deserves to actually be parachuted in to Afghanistan without a burqa. That's my feeling. Clodagh Brigitte ní Gallagher says, Dear Lady C, it was wonderful to be part of your birthday celebrations and to see your sons. They are a credit to you. Thank you very much. My question is about Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall. She has been very supportive of Charles, William and Harry, and dignified in her silence. Do you think Harry is going to attack her character in his memoirs? That is the great fear, to put it in a nutshell. Harry has become a completely different person from what he was. Harry and Meghan have maximized Harry's negativity and minimized his positivity. Of course, any step relationship can be fraught with difficulties. Charles and Camilla bent over backwards to minimize any discomfiture that those boys would have. They encouraged their father to marry her. They were very supportive. Camilla is a very ambitious woman. Charles is the one who wants her to be queen. She only ever wanted to love Charles. What's so terrible about that? Both those boys know as a fact that their parents' marriage would never have worked whether Camilla Parker Bowles had existed or not. There was no way that marriage could have worked. Camilla is collateral damage. Camilla is incidental in the whole thing, believe it or not. I know a lot of people would care to think that that is not so. Well, it is so. I know what I'm talking about. I have listened to all sides of the question. And believe me, if I felt differently, I would be the first one to say it. But you cannot make declarations when there are no findings in fact. Well, at least I can't, and I don't. But then again, I'm not amid scabies. I'm not Andrew Morton. I'm not any of those journalists who have sculpted scenarios that rarely bore little relationship to the realities. I have stuck as closely as possible to the facts of the matter. And since I've been doing it for some 30 years now, in fact it is 30 years now, I think those of you who are inclined could actually think maybe I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. Brigitte says, Harry may be able to stay in character, but his wife obviously can't, e.g. her bullying of staff. I do not believe for a moment that she has stopped when behind the walls of their little track house. Well, I'm glad, my dear, that you think that the douche and the douchette of Montecito live in a little track house. I think they live in a rather tacky reconstituted idea of a Tuscan chateau, except chateaus aren't Tuscan, chateaus are French. So how it becomes a Tuscan chateau is beyond me, but it does show the confusion that lies within the whole creation of the property and its execution as well. This, of course, is alluding to a question that we had previously about Harry and Meghan living out their created characters 24/7. I'm sorry, Brigitte, I actually think Meghan does live out her created character for 24/7. The fact that the character is sometimes charming and sometimes anything but. The fact that she is a dominant personality at all times, the fact that she is opportunistic at all times, doesn't mean she's sometimes living out the character and sometimes not. Every character has different facets, and everybody has different moods. And if you are a nice person and you're in a bad mood, you're not going to be quite the same as you are when you are in a good mood. So the fact that Meghan is, according to Buckingham Palace, and I defer to their superior track record where recollections are concerned, was bullying staff, and that she has something of a track record of treating underlings in the most, I would say, unfortunate manner, to err on the side of legality, is very consistent with somebody who's pretentious, full of herself. Look at how wonderful I am. I'm a wonderful person. I'm very humanitarian. When it suits her, and then at all other times, a shrieking banshee. There's nothing inconsistent about that. That goes along with the territory of being something of a phony. And it also goes along with the territory of being extremely dominating and very frustrated when you don't get your own way. Exeter Line 1930 says, "It was in the news in America that Meghan was getting trained about British traditions and history before the wedding. I don't know how she can say she didn't get training." Well, my dear, I don't know why you would be so surprised that Meghan, who has developed a reputation that is at a variance with factuality, should actually have denied that she was getting training. Because to say that she was getting training would have meant that she had to give credit where credit was due. And the only person in Meghan's book who should be getting credit is Meghan, with maybe Harry sort of letting on the sidelines for a bit of credit from time to time, especially when she can push him out there for him to take all the credit to get all the blame that then gets heaped on his head. And that is very useful down the line should she need to play the card, something was a little bit wrong with Harry. Of course she was going to deny it. Stupid of her to deny it, because everybody knows that the Queen delegated both Angela Kelly and Lady Susan Hussey to teach her the ropes. But there is another reason why Meghan was unwilling to learn, and we are going to come to that in exactly a second. Because Donna Crowell says Meghan couldn't risk the Queen's lady-in-waiting finding out what she was truly up to because it didn't fit her agenda. And there, my dear Donna Crowell, we have you hitting the nail on the head. Meghan couldn't have Angela Kelly and Susan Hussey around too much, because Meghan was already plotting and scheming, manoeuvring and manipulating to have a bad relationship with everybody so that she could Megxit and take the prince she'd bagged to California, where she was going to become the star that she'd never been before. And she was going to star in every role because she's so young, a young mother, batting 40, but young. She forgot that in Hollywood, 40 is old for ingenues to be starting out. And since she had been playing the ingenue before, and she was going to hope to become a leading lady in Hollywood, she needed to beat a track very quickly before she turned 40. And she was, remember, batting on that door like the Afghans have been batting on the airport doors, trying to get in, to get out. She was doing the same thing. So that's what she was doing. And that's why she did it. And that's why she dispensed with their services at the earliest opportunity. Had she been willing to learn, she would still have them mentoring her. But remember, Meghan is the sort of person who thinks that 40 minutes is all it takes to mentor anybody. Do you begin to see how completely unrealistic she is in her expectations, but how very devious, manipulative, and exacting she is in the execution of her objectives? Molly says, "Dear Lady C, I love your top." I think she's referring to the black one with the old-fashioned telephone with the beading and the pearls, etc. "How radiant you looked as you sat with your boys." Thank you. Many people have commented on that. Well, I do not pretend. My greatest joy in my life is and has been my children. Nothing means more to me than my children. Nothing. And yes, I love them dearly, and I don't conceal it. I don't think I could conceal it, even if I wanted to. They are my heartstrings. They are my joys. They are my pride. I love them. My question is there any truth that the Queen is lawyering up to dispel the constant lies from the dastardly duo? Yes, there is truth. And this is one that was not leaked by Sunshine Sachs. This is one that has been leaked by the Palace. If you recall, I have been alluding for some time now to the fact that there have been plans in motion to counter the negative effects of Harry and Meghan's really rather disgraceful and disgusting misconduct. And that there were plans afoot that I knew of that I was not prepared to speak about. Well, there are still many plans afoot, some of which I know of, that I'm not prepared to speak about. Remember the expression, forewarned is forearmed? Well, to forewarn them would be to forearm them. And that would be very stupid of anybody who has any sense of responsibility whatsoever. Also, remember the saying, fools rush in where wise men, and some people say where angels fear to tread. Harry and Meghan have rushed in. They have played the victim card. They have played the colour card. They have played every card that they could come on about with Oh, we were so poverty-stricken. Daddy cut me off. He only gave me 2.5 million. I mean, the cheapskate. Daddy cut me off. Yes, hazard. Hazard. Your daddy's just as beastly as mine. Mine, I only bankrupted mine. And yours is such a piece of filthy, dirty, awful human being that he's not even gonna get him to allow you to bankrupt him the way mine got bankrupted by me. I mean, you call that love? That's not love. That's selfish. If he loved you, he'd put us first. Yeah, he wouldn't put himself first. He certainly wouldn't put your dinky little country first. You hazard. You're all just such a waste of time. It's just pathetic that I have to put up with all of you, and after all I sacrificed and gave up to become a princess of the United Kingdom and a royal duchess, and this is all I have to put up with. You really are a hazard. Yeah, you are. Along those lines. Yes. And believe me, take it from me, most of it will be done behind the scenes. I know you are all aware of the fact that decent people don't wash their dirty linen in public unless somebody forces them to do so. Usually a traitorous member of a family forces people to wash their dirty linen in public. Otherwise, people don't wash their dirty linen in public. It's just not done. You will not know of 98% of what is done. Take it from me. You won't know. I know things I'm not telling you. I know things I never tell you. Why would I? It would be playing right into the dastardly duo's hands. And I do not approve of anything they do, and rarely anything they say, because I think they are hazards. They are hazards to the well-being of everyone and everything they interfere with. And I actually am really very upset that they have trivialized the rather extraordinary situation that is happening in Afghanistan at the moment to get yet more publicity for themselves. Still in the game says, question to Lady C. Has this legal move actually been in the planning right from the beginning? Were the royal family just making absolutely sure that they were going to win? Is there a massive royal bitch slap coming for Megsy baby? Well, I've never heard of that one before, my dear. That is something that is very edifying. Thanks for teaching me about a category of slap I knew nothing about. Do you remember this old adage, revenge is a dish best served cold? And it's not even about vengeance. It's about justice and self-preservation. No, this was not in the planning from the very beginning. The family reeled from the shock of what Harry and Meghan dished up to them on not one, but on at least two separate occasions. Megxit and Oprah being the first two. They absolutely reeled from the shock and the horror of it all. Nobody likes being betrayed. You know, Harry and Meghan would like you to believe that they have the Queen in their back pocket. Take it from me, the Queen isn't stupid. She may be old, but she's not stupid. And I have to tell you, having come from a troubled family, and a civilized troubled family, incidentally, by the way, where we didn't wash our dirty linen in public. Nobody from a civilized background wants to wash their dirty linen in public. And yes, you will be as nice as you possibly can, even at the very moment that your heart is breaking, because that's how civilized people conduct themselves. That doesn't mean you're a pushover. Just because you're being civilized does not mean that you are colluding or agreeing or condoning. You need to get under your belt, those of you who think that the royal family should be slugging it out the way some third-rate mafia family would be doing in some B-list movie. That's not how they work. They have the very best advisors. They have medical advisors. They have legal advisors. They have political advisors, not in terms of party politics, but in terms of state politics, of state affairs. Maybe constitutional advisors would be a better way of putting it, so that you don't get confused with party politics. These are affairs of state. Nobody is doing anything that is going to upset the apple cart needlessly. Softly, softly catching monkey. And they are going to catch those two monkeys if they can. It's been a very good technique. I know that a lot of people have been really upset that their immediate solutions were not being acted upon. Strip them of their titles. Strip them of their titles. Punch them. Knock them out. That's not the way a royal family should work or is working. That's the way gutter snipes like Meghan and now Harry operate. That's not the way decent people, civilized people, people who are, shall we say, decline to scramble in the sewer with gutter snipes function. But yes, the lawyers have been called in from some time, and I am not going to be revealing anything I know, and I'm not going to be anticipating, but I will confirm in a situation like this what I already know to be so. And what I know to be so is that they are not going to allow Harry and Meghan to continue to create mayhem with their lies, their misremembrances, their variation of memories, their creation and denigration of fact. Cat for Truth says, "Wow, Macron's wife would be in jail if she was in America." Yes, just goes to show, doesn't it, that the mere fact that something is against the law in America and that Americans snare upon it and disapprove of it doesn't mean that everyone everywhere else in the world snares or disapproves, or that it's against the law in other countries. So I think this is a very good moment to make the point that just as how Europeans respect American culture, at least I hope they do, I certainly do, it is time the American media, because I know a lot of American people respect European culture, and I know that a lot of American people respect differences in the different cultures. But the media loves to whip up people in America with all sorts of sensationalism that because it's against the law in Tennessee, it's got to be against the law in Tegernsee. No, it doesn't. Germany is not America. France is not America. The woman is the wife of the President of France. He was elected by a handsome majority of French people, all of whom knew that his relationship with his wife started when he was 15 and she was 40. His family and her family did not approve and tried everything in their power to stop it, but ultimately they did not stop it. They got married, and she is the First Lady of France. I hope in this one little vignette we can put to bed some of the shock horror that the tabloidesques and the tabloidesque mentality and the tabloidesque readership would like to bring to bear. Now, I actually have to tell you, I would not have been thrilled if any 15-year-old child of mine was making off with a 40-year-old, especially if it was he's a 15-year-old boy and she's a 40-year-old woman. But the fact that they have remained together all these years and she is now First Lady of France does mean that even those of us who are on the prissy side, and I would count myself in that number in this instance, should stand back and allow other people and other values, as long as they're not against the law, to be treated with respect. Darlene Chandler says, today in the news, stating H took a private plane from Colorado to play polo, and yet he is always going on about the environment. What are your thoughts on his preaching to everyone and doing the opposite? Oh, Darlene Chandler, you and I don't get it, do we? You know, we look at something like this and we think Harry's an ace hypocrite. Harry looks at it and he thinks, I'm a prince. I know better than everybody else ever since I met Meghan as to what's good for everybody else. And what I tell you is good for everybody else is what's good for everybody else. And why would I be limited by the rules I set for everybody else? I'm not everybody else. I'm me. I'm the hazard. I think that about summarizes it, doesn't it? You know, he yet again has come in for criticism quite justifiably. But you see, this is where Hear me again and hazard simply don't understand. To be respected, you need to have integrity. To have integrity, you can't speak out of both sides of your mouth at the same time. That's not how integrity works. Hear me again and hazard. That's how hypocrisy works. That's how double standard works. That's how anything that is fraudulent and phony works. That's not how anything that is admirable works. Jane Smith says, will you please review the updated Scooby book? I will when it comes out. Several people have asked me. In fact, I think if it's not thousands, it's certainly many hundreds of people have asked me to review it. So I will review it. But it doesn't come out till the 31st of August. Lily Jo Miller says, Dear lovely Lady C, I would like your opinion on how much it costs for Meghan's constant PR. She appears to be obsessed with making the media rounds every single day. Everything from merching mascara to get lashes like Meghan's, although she uses false eyelashes with visible globs of glue. Well, of course she does, my dear. She's classy. She's a very classy chick. Promoting her own hair products, although she's balding and that would frighten potential users. What are you talking about? She has fabulous hair and it's all hers. It doesn't matter that it came from the scalps of 1,000 virgins from Turkey. It's all hers. She bought that hair. Don't be mean. Don't be mean. Don't be mean. It's hers. Promoting her tasteless jewellery. Well, there I couldn't agree more. Her jewellery is an absolute example of arriviste tackiness, of complete lack of style or taste, of what is the most déclassé concept of what would be desirable jewelry. Too big shoes, yes. I actually wonder how she wears those shoes because they're always so big. You know, you can see that they're about to fall off her feet, but for some reason they don't. Maybe those chicken toes have very long nails, or maybe they have suction pads on the bottom of them to keep the shoes on. Clothing I wouldn't even wear to bed, etc. Well, why wouldn't you wear that clothing to bed? I mean, you should wear that clothing to bed. It's very classy. I mean, it never fits properly. The undergarments are always inappropriate for whatever she has on. But why wouldn't you wear it? I mean, just imagine, you know, for instance, that wonderful green thing with the calf cape and the hat, evocative of Diana, but with a Meghan update. What about the wedding dress? So ill-fitting that the designer lost her job at Givenchy. How expensive is this daily self-promoting? Do you recall any other celebrity or wannabe celebrity promoting themselves on a daily basis? Once the PR expenses and other expenses are deducted to their charity, what could possibly be left to help the needy with such expensive self-promoting PR costs? Well, First of all, let me tell you something how PR works in case you don't know it. the PR company sets up deals as well. So it's a circular thing. They make money off each of their clients. But say I'm your client and my retainer to your retainer is, just for argument's sake, 100,000 a month. You will then go to Mickey and you will cut a deal with Mickey, who's also got you on a retainer. But that will reduce my expenditure because Mickey is going to find a way of giving you a reduction. So that's how it works. So it's one hand scratching another's back or one hand washing another. So it's a circular thing with reduction. The fact of the matter is, though, that Meghan and Harry have a business model. They have very big ideas. They are very grandiose. Grandiosity is not the same thing as grand. Grand is big. Grandiose is too big. Grandiose is excessive. They have very grandiose ideas, very grandiose ambitions, very grandiose expectations, and a very grandiose business plan. They are hoping to pull it off with a lot of hot air injected into the equation. They have been talking up huge figures in the hope that, as Meghan has said repeatedly, lie to yourself long enough, it will happen, or it might happen. She, of course, puts it slightly differently. She says, if you don't like what you are, just pretend to be something else and you will become it, which she's done. But she's not done it very successfully, because had she been really successful, she would be having a very grand way of life instead of a very grandiose way of life. So in fact, she is the living embodiment of failure at the very moment that she is succeeding. Let's see if they manage to pull it off. Of course, there's always Bill Gates. He's now free, single, disengaged. And I'm sure he would be very happy to have a nice new wife who's going to sort of do all sorts of... For fuck's sake. I'm sure he would like to have a nice new wife who will go along with his rather grand schemes, some of which could well be grandiose, but he certainly has the money, he certainly has the know-how, and who knows, they might be compatible in all sorts of hidden areas where specialists like Meghan excel themselves in all sorts of hidden personal and impersonal areas. So, you know, his marriage broke up under rather dubious strains put on him by his wife by various undesirable associations. Well, we all know that Meghan has no compunction about associating with anybody. as long as they are going to help her on her upwards trajectory. And I don't think there are that many people who are going to be able to afford Meghan if the deck of cards that she has been playing ends up on the table and she has to make it into a nice house. You know, somebody's going to, and the whole pack of cards will come tumbling down. I think she's going to need a good billionaire's yacht to sail off onto. Let's see if it happens. Because, of course, most billionaires like young flesh. You very seldom see very rich older men with women of their own age. It happens occasionally, but most of them, for some mystifying reason, seem to have a propensity for young flesh. That means Meghan's options are going to be very limited unless she can do the mind, or shall we say, injection that she did with Harry. I don't see her doing it with Bill Gates, but my understanding is that they may have more in common than you actually realize. I've been told that they're not that dissimilar in many ways. So who knows? Maybe that will be a marriage made, not in heaven, not even in the bank, but in Fort Knox. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and please keep the questions coming in the comments section. They are invaluable. Oh, by the way, before ending, I hope you like my t-shirt. My cousin Enrique used to do a very upmarket t-shirt line 30-something years ago, and maybe even 20-something years ago. But certainly, this is from the early 80s. Is it not the end in chic? Thanks and goodbye. God bless.